All right, so welcome to my presentation. It's a little bit of flash marketing to get everybody in here. Optical disk drives are dying, so you should go emulation. So this presentation is a review of what's currently in market. And there's a couple of like minor announcements. Unless you've toured all the booths, you may already know things, but there might even be something special in this presentation. I've also gone ahead and built my own optical disk emulator, which uses USB, which we'll dig into a little bit later on. Unfortunately, I only have like 20 minutes, so I don't think we're going to get to actually watch a real demo. But I do, if time permits, I have some pre-recorded footage that I used for a video that we can play for a couple minutes. So optical drives are dying, go emulation. So let's take a look at some of the alternatives. My name's Dani Sarfati. I've been involved with the open source community here and there for about 15, 20 years or so. Been running Linux since I was a teenager. And I grew up in the MS-DOS era. So this is kind of where my sweet spot started. All right, so let's talk a little bit about why would you want to use emulation for your optical discs. Well, let me just get this straight. So this presentation is focused on just emulating the CD-ROM or DVD drive, right? So you're going to use original hardware and you're going to plug something in and you're going to be able to run your ISO game or your bin-Q game so you can, play your classic. For me, like my golden game is Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo on the PC. It actually has a soundtrack that was never released in any other platform. Like the music was a little bit different. So, yeah. All right. So what are the challenges that we're seeing right now with optical drives and optical discs? So disk rot. It's relatively new term. I think like when I used to think of disk rot, like, my scratch disks, I didn't store them correctly, but we're actually seeing like manufacturer defects come in, and even like recent Blu-rays, and Blu-rays aren't even all that old. There were some manufacturing defects that happened, and that rendered, I think it was like 2 or 3 years of prints of a handful of movies from Movie House. Those are all bad. That's not exclusively on Blu-ray discs. Like there's other manufacturers who have had printing issues like that, but that's just something to keep in mind. I don't know who was touring here, but I was looking around for my favorite Sierra games from back in the 90s, and like those discs weren't going for under $50. And that's a lot of money for a game that I used to see in the bargain bin for $8.99. So yeah, as this vintage stuff, continues to age, and the value of some of these discs are increasing, and you don't necessarily want to put your discs through the ringer. Talk a little bit about the mechanical problems that we see with the optical drive. So there's lots of different problems that can happen. You can have your laser burn out. I've had to replace a number of PlayStation 3 Blu-ray, just the optical lens. You've got problems with belts. So, anything that's rubber can, degrade over time. And the last time I saw the last manufacturing date I've seen on an IDE CD-ROM or DVD drive was 2008. So, it's getting up there. And there's also problems with eject mechanisms. I have also an Xbox at home, and the original Xbox, the disc never ejects. So all sorts of issues. And then a little bit ironic, I picked up 2 Macs this weekend, and both of them had faulty optical disk drives. So, and there's no, as I mentioned with the IDE, there's not really replacements. And in fact, just so everybody knows, I think LG stopped manufacturing Blu-ray writers as of the past 12 months or so. And the prices on Amazon are skyrocketing. So I just recently purchased a backup so I can, continue to digitize my physical media. So it's playable everywhere. All right, so let's take a look at some of the solutions that we have here. So I don't have this specific one here. So there's a ZuluSCSI. So this is mostly geared towards the Mac community, because Mac community mostly ship with SCSI a lot of times, but you can find some PCs with SCSI in it. They have multiple products. Most of their products are based on either the Raspberry Pi 2350B or the RP2040. Keep those numbers in mind, because we're going to be seeing them a lot during this presentation. It's partially open source firmware. They do have a custom manufacturing, although they do have a single open source design, and you use a micro SD card or an SD card, depending as to which model you have, to store all your images. I believe you can store both CD as well as hard disk images on there. You can also get a DAC, so a digital audio converter. So I'm not sure how many people are familiar with this, but these old IDE CD-ROM drives, they actually have a DAC on them that allows you to play back music. And the music output will go into one of these like small 3 or 4 pin connectors. They're called MPC4. And they don't make those since they've been making SATA drives. They don't need to do that anymore, because software has finally picked. At the time, software had picked up in around Windows 98 SE. So that adds a little bit of extra challenges to this optical disc emulation. But there's an add-on that you can get for many of the products that I'm going to be going through here. Yeah, and it also has some additional features to it. Base model starts at $48. Okay, so the BlueSCSI is actually one that I picked up while I was here. It's this one. It's a clone of the ZuluIDE, effectively. It's open source, forked from ZuluSCSI, and there's a few other products as well. They have a large Discord community, which is fairly active. They're fairly lots of development on these projects as well, and they're here you can pick these up for $45 if their table's still open. They also uses a tool called BlueSCSI Toolbox, and which allows you to change which image is loaded from within an operating system. So that's kind of cool. All right, now let's switch over to the PC side. So they have the ZuluIDE now. They've just relaunched with a version 2. So they slashed the price a little bit. This is the new version right here, and they've added a little screen to it as well. So it uses custom manufacturing, although it does still use the RP2350, although the V1 used the 2040. Supports hard drives, CD-ROMs, zip drives, and other generic devices. Also, micro SD card for your backing. For your storage backing, and you can order. I think you can order them online starting tomorrow, from Rabbit Hole Computing. So I'm not sure if it will come in this entire kit, but there's a ZuluIDE reseller out in the exhibit there. So if the table's still open, you might be able to find some more. Okay, and so this one here is interesting. So the next one is the PicoGUS. So this is an open source solution, also based on the RP2040. It's primarily a sound card. Oh, sorry. It's primarily an ISA sound card, and it goes for about $50. It has a USB port on it, which, as of a recent firmware, allows for optical disc emulation. So you just store your ISOs on a USB key, plug it in to the card there. There's some software that you would use to load it up, and there you go. It's fully open source, which is really cool. The CD-ROM drive runs at around 4x. It does support CD audio, and I forgot to mention, on a lot of these, on the BlueSCSI and the ZuluIDE, there's a limit of the number of files that you can put on it. I believe the current limit for the V2 ZuluIDE is up to 256. But for the most part, they're usually at around 100 images per SD card, let's say. just like the way how it's programmed, I guess, internally. The developer of PicoGUS is actually taking the work that they learned and applying that to create PicoIDE, so an IDE solution for this. So this brings me to the project that I'm very passionate about, that I'm involved in and started. So this is called USBODE. So I've got a couple of them here. I started the project in April of this year. Originally, it was based on the Linux USB mass storage gadget, but that had some limitations. So I've started working with another developer, and we're building it based on Circle. So how it works is you can take a Raspberry Pi 02W, a Raspberry Pi 3A Plus, or Raspberry Pi 4B, which you can buy at Micro Center. And you can buy this hat for it, Pirate Audio hat, also available at Micro Center, about $35, no, $27, sorry. And as long as you have the one with the headers, you can just plug them in together, basically stick in a USB or a micro SD card, and then plug it into your retro computer, as long as your retro computer has USB ports on it, which we can talk about in a minute. And it recognizes it. It works in MS-DOS, it works in Windows 3.11, and works in Windows 9X. We're seeing compatibility up to about Windows 7. The more modern versions of Windows, there's some, it's open source. It's pretty new. We're still working on it. So the modern operating systems aren't currently working, but it's pretty cool. Yeah, one of the big things for me is I didn't want to rely on custom manufacturing processes or people having to solder things. I don't know how to solder. I mean, I can barely solder, let's say. I don't want people to be able to have to struggle with soldering in order to just get, maybe you just found this computer in the trash, like from the previous presentation, and you want to get a game up and running on it. Like, how are you going to burn the game to a disk anymore? Right? Like, let's talk about that first. And then, you want to play it on your retro PC, just pick it up, get this, go to Micro Center. The base is for a 0W, the cost is $15. Like, that wouldn't give you CD audio, but I mean, it's bare bones. And plug it in, and there you go. This $15 solution. Whereas all these other solutions are, between $50 and $125. So what inspired me originally to write this? There's modernized retro computers. The one that I got is called the ITX Llama, and it's basically a recreated Pentium 233, let's say. You can run your DOS games on it. You can run your Windows 95 games on it. I ran up to Windows XP, but it's really slow. Not recommended. Anyways, it doesn't have any IDE ports on it. So people initially were recommending, you get the ZuluIDE, and then you need the SCSI, you need the SATA to IDE adapter, and that's like really clunky. So, if it has native USB on it, so let's just leverage that native USB and let's see how far we can get with it. So with my project, we're not actually using an RP2040 or any of these like low level ones. We have the power of a computer, a very mini computer, but it's the power of a computer. So we have Wi-Fi built on this. We've got it's a web interface. You can FTP your ISOs into it. So I've been operating. My favorite use case is have this thing plugged into my computer, run a game. It says you need this dependency. Okay, find this dependency on archive, FTP it over, mount the new image, and I'm done. I'm not unplugging anything. Like, this is almost real time, and my retro PC is pretty secure because it's actually not connected to the internet. We also support changing ISOs through DOS and Windows apps, and we support 2 different screens here. So this is what I originally built the project on, a WaveShare OLED 1.3 inch. And then I moved over to the Pirate Audio because somebody's mentioned that, oh, this one has a audio out on it. So I shifted the project over. All right, so let's take a quick look at the different hardware options. Lowest cost option, starting point is $15, as I mentioned. So that gets you the ability to mount a bin or queue or ISO file in DOS without, just as is. Like you can go get it, and I'm pretty sure it even comes with a micro USB cable that you would use to plug into your retro PC. The recommended option for non-soldering, you can get the one with headers, which is a few dollars more if they're in stock, and then you can buy the Pirate Audio, as I mentioned. Maybe you already have a Raspberry Pi and you want to link into the project. So we support the 0W, 02W, which was mentioned earlier, 3A Plus, and the Pi 4. And the lowest cost option for the Pi 4 is 1 gigabyte. One of the advantages of using the 3A Plus is that it already has the headers pre-installed from the factory. So, if you're weighing out your options. And we also support PWM audio from the Raspberry Pi, which isn't very high quality, but if you're looking to get CD audio in a pinch and you don't have access to any of these hats, you can use that. And there's also a recently added HDMI audio support. So you need an HDMI audio extractor. So it's expensive because everything HDMI is expensive, but it works. So another thing too is I want to make sure that the project can last. I don't know what the hardware cycles are for any of these things, right? One day Pirate Audio might say, okay, we're done selling this. And who else is making audio, LCD hats with audio out on it? So if you're savvy, you can just use a PCM5102 audio chip, and you can wire it in, and you can just use the web interface, and you've got almost everything at your disposal there. All right, so we have a couple extra minutes. I might actually have time for some video. So this is some screenshots of what the UI looks like for USB ODE. So in the upper left-hand corner, it's the Pirate Audio UI. It's very user-friendly. I built this because I want the everyday user who's just getting into retro, or, they don't need to know how to edit the files within the micro SD card on the Zulu in order to load up a different ISO image. So everything is very user-friendly. And yeah, so you can see that upper left-hand corner. Bottom left-hand corner is the WaveShare UI, which is very similar. It's just monochrome. And then you can see the web UI right in the center of the screen there. So we have a couple of extra minutes. Let's see. Is there any audio that'll come out from the...
If it can go through the HDMI,
yeah.
you might have to change your output device to Epson something or other.
Okay.
It has been proven to work in the past.
All right. Okay, so I have a YouTube video that I've recently put up to demonstrate this. This is like a little bit of a clip that we have. So this is from MS. This is an MS-DOS game we're going to run, and hopefully that's the play button. We're going to boot into MS-DOS. Okay, and let's do DOS with CD-ROM. Okay, so we can see here it's scanning and it found the USB ODE, which is basically a Panasonic drive. And here we go. So now if I go into the X drive, we should see, we still see the GTA is still loaded up. Okay, now if we want to switch disks, let's go ahead on the modern PC, and we'll just use the web interface because it's easier to film that way. Now let's load up, Tomb Raider? No, not Tomb Raider. We're going to load up, I guess, Carmageddon. I don't know if I have that installed yet. Okay, so we're using Carmageddon here. Let's switch back to the retro PC. So let's do a dir/w, retry, and here it is. we can now see that Carmageddon is loaded up. So do I have it installed? I do. Okay, so I can just run Karma from here. Register later. So for extra context, Carmageddon is a Voodoo only game. All right, let's load this down a little bit. Okay. All right, new game. All right, we're going to do max damage. We're going to do easy, but I'm not very good at this game. And as you know, this game does have CD audio. So once we go into the game itself, then we should be hearing our CD audio playing. The game was also running on the Llama, just in case you were wondering.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Buttons again. But yeah, I'm getting. It's a little bit hard to hear, but it's there. So I'm going to just stop the video now because I've only got a couple minutes left. Yeah. All right. So my last slide is I have a quick overview, but if anybody wants to watch the full video, I've got a link there, and I've got some interesting times listed over here if you want to just skip to some of the best parts of the video. And does anybody have any questions? Yes. So right now, this currently only supports PC-related gaming. So I'm going to look to enhance this to extend it for Mac as well, because that's the hardware that I have, the hardware that I'm familiar with. But if there's other things, you can always put. We have an issues. Everything's open source. Everything's on GitHub. You could put an issue in, and we can see what we could do. Again, the requirement is that you need a USB. USB 2.0 works best. We've seen issues with 440BX motherboards. And if you don't have a USB, you can buy one from Amazon. I think they're about $20 for a PCI one. So.
Like for DOS stuff, does it actually already have to have? I mean, how does that work with USB and DOS?
Okay, yeah. So you're gonna load up into DOS. You're gonna have to connect your USB ODE during the boot process. There's some specific drivers that you would use to load up. There's the Panasonic drivers. Everything's kind of in the README, all the details. And once you get all that going, you run your MSCDEX, and then it picks it up as a CD-ROM drive. So then you could just use that, and you can switch images within DOS as well. So if you wanted to switch from Carmageddon to like Tomb Raider, that's pretty straightforward. Yes, question in the back. I don't have an answer for that right now. I found that there's some known redump information. So as long as you're able to match the validation, like the SH256 of those known backups that are good, then those are kind of what we go for. That's what we're supporting right now.
How does it behave with the CDROM and other?
We're not supporting any anti-DRM stuff right now. Most of the use cases are pretty much MS-DOS focused because there's no CD-ROM emulator that you can use that has audio for MS-DOS. If you needed something with secure ROM, you theoretically could load it through daemon tools. So And another thing too is that's really cool is you can even make like an ISO of ISOs, and then you can just load that up, and then you don't have all those ISOs sitting on your hard disk anymore, right? It's free up a lot of space. On
Too, with a lot of the stuff you can will still run like on Windows 10, but you just need like a no disk hack for the GPU file, you know?
yeah, I know.
Secure boot, secure ROM and virus.
Correct. Yeah. So we're not supporting like the later version, the more modern versions of Windows, anyways.
So for the modern stuff, you would recommend more of that on that software side of like gaming tools or something like that?
Yeah, I think so. It's theoretically possible to use USB ODE as a pass-through device with VMware or any of those virtualization solutions. So you might be able to look into leveraging that too. All right, any more questions? All right, well,
CD-ROM drives, but they're just sitting on my shelf doing nothing.
they're probably not working. They're,
Thank you.
thank you, everybody. Thank you.